Hey guys,
Welcome back.
another week, another podcast.
Yes.
Let's talk about more nonsense.
Shenanigans. Danny Gans shenanigans.
So I was talking to you previously about let's do it this way. My squeaklet is going to be driving here in the next 2 years, and this kind of started with like how I want her to think about driving and stuff like that. Like not so much the driving, you turn the wheel this way to go this way, and you push this pedal when it's time to stop.
Mm-hmm.
But more so like on the mental aspect of it, being safe and courteous and whatnot, and just not being a dick.
Yeah.
And so I came up with these rules, that everybody that's driving should have. And I was like, you know what, this kind of goes for life in general.
Yeah.
And so I started writing the stuff down, and it's kind of silly, but it's like super basic, and it's just definitions of the different qualities of people.
Okay.
And I just thought it was interesting because I think you can actually narrow down being a good person to like this simple definition. And there's always going to be, like different things that change for different events. But like, let's say you find yourself in a position where you don't really know what to do, but you want to do what's right or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so maybe I'll print this on cards or something like that. When somebody, they want to be a good person, but they don't know how, they just pull out the card and like, oh, this is how I'm a good person.
Remind themselves how to be a good person.
So I kind of narrowed it down to 4 different types of people. And it's a bad person, an acceptable person, which is kind of like just neutral, a good person, and then you got a great person.
Oh.
Which is like
Me.
it could be, could be a hero or whatever. So
Superhero.
you'll get the rhythm here real quick. But a bad person's actions have negative external effects.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Done. An acceptable person's actions have 0 external effects. Like nothing happens. They're just there. Nothing happens. Mm-hmm. A good person's actions have positive external effects. And a great person's actions have negative effects on themselves for the purpose of having positive external effects. So it started with driving because I think that's a great rule for driving, and that's something that I follow a lot. And this kind of shit has always just been in my head at all times. And so like when I'm driving, I would fall in the acceptable to good driver using these definitions because I'm certainly not gung-ho about following speed limits and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think it's more than that, but like just dumb stuff like merging and stuff like that. If I'm going to merge, I want to have 0 effect on somebody else. Like if they're driving, your being there should not affect anything that they do, and that is as small as like them having to move their foot over to step on the brake.
Yeah, I agree.
If I need to do something, I don't want to cause any change in somebody else's, trajectory. I can't say that word.
Trajectory.
Yes, thank you. And so it just goes with everything. I won't cut people off. Absolutely not. I won't even merge unless there's like plenty of room. And I often like accelerate like crazy when I do need to merge and there's like a tiny little space so that it's clear that they don't need to, step on the brake. They don't need to do anything. And so I think it's the assholes that, they do what they need to do, and it's like, dude, what are you doing?
They stay going 25 getting on the freeway and just pull over in front of you, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're getting on the freeway.
Yeah, at 45.
Why wouldn't you just stay in the right lane? Or people that move all the way over to the fast lane even though they're going 50. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Exactly.
Like, you're like, I'm convinced that you're just trying to be an asshole at this point. There's no other excuse.
I don't think it's that. I think it goes for a lot of things. I think being an asshole is not them necessarily like being an asshole. It's just them not thinking about other people, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's like you got the people that turn right into a shopping center, and there's plenty of room to move over and stop, but one, they don't use their blinker. Two, they just fucking like slow down to 25, like 400 yards before it's even time to turn.
Yep.
And then finally they'll turn, and it screws everybody up. And it's
hate it.
It's just not thinking about people around
hate
you. So.
It. Yeah, I've been like very good lately about like keeping like my emotions in check while I drive, and like not like getting angry and frustrated and stuff, because it is so easy just to be like road ragey and just somebody pulls in front of you and you're like, fuck this guy, fuck the world, you know. And just go off on a fucking rant for the rest of the day about it. But I've been like getting a lot better. But there are like a couple things, like if they're doing something that is like that's like super annoying, like for no reason. Like I get it if like, oh, they're in the left lane and like they waited too long and they need to get over now, and like so like they cut you off a little bit. And I'm like, all right, you know, fuck it. Like I've been there. Like maybe they, I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they like didn't realize that it was coming up that fast. It happens to me. I start daydreaming, whatever, you know, and then you're like, ah, shit, I gotta like cut this person off and get over. And so I'm always like, you know, like whatever, I'll just slow down, let them in, you know. And it's not very often anymore that I see somebody like coming up and I like pinch them out, you know. Like I used to like do that shit all the time when I was younger, and I was just like constantly like racing with everybody, and it was just a big competition all the time. And it's like somebody would be like coming up and they're like, oh, they're gonna take the right lane and go around everybody before the lane ends, and it's like, nope. And I would speed up, and it's like, now I'm just like, nah, fuck, whatever. Like if I just keep my same pace, it's not gonna affect me. They can just go around. It's just it's just the ego that wants you to speed up and pinch them off because they're just trying to get in front of everybody, you know. It's like, it doesn't, I don't need that stress. Like I'm so much more calm now. But when people do things where they're going super slow, getting onto the freeway, or they do move over into the far left lane and they're going 50 in the fast lane, like that works at my patience. And I'm like, I'm gonna try and just calmly go around you. And it's like sometimes you're just boxed in and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you there?
In defense of a lot of people out there, I think it's really hard, especially for nowadays, for people to like actually put themselves in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
I say you should do that often, but it's really hard to, especially like multiple people. Because when I was writing these definitions, one of the things I was thinking of, I was like, when I first wrote it, like an acceptable person's actions have, or a good person's actions have positive external effects. It used to be positive effects on another person.
Yeah.
And it was like, but let's take the driving example again. If you know, you're driving and you see somebody pulling out of a driveway or something like that, and you're like, you want to be a good person, so you want to let this person out. You want to be nice. But this person's not paying attention. Mm-hmm. And now you got like 300 fucking cars behind you. Waiting and honking, and you're like,
yeah.
Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to let this guy out. I'm trying to be a good person, and he's not paying attention. It's like, so.
Yeah, you gotta do it within reason, and like, you can't be like the like carefree, like overly nice, like I'll let 3 people out of the parking lot. Because, like, yeah, because then you're fucking over everybody else. Like there's gotta be like the balance there. Like, oh, are you gonna go? Oh, you're not gonna go? Okay, like I'll go. Like I don't have any problem like taking initiative and just fucking going. And like I still drive like defensively, and like I'll do what I gotta do to like get in and out of like a situation. But yeah, it's just like being overall like trying to be more like calm and like think about like what other people are thinking about, give them the benefit of the doubt. And it's funny when you were talking about how when you move over you try to like not affect people, like just move over and they don't have to slow down or anything when you're like going in front of them. It's so funny because like I've always noticed that there will be people where I speed up and I go and I cut in front of them. I'm not cutting them off, but I'm speeding up and going in front of them in their lane. And even though I'm accelerating and I moved over in front of them and I kept accelerating and it didn't affect them at all because they felt like I went around them too fast, I've had people like flash their lights at me. And I'm like, what the fuck are you mad about? I did not affect you at all. Like, you're just mad because I went in front of you. Like, it's so weird.
Mm.
Like, that's just, like, such a, like, competitive, like, egotistical, like, mindset. Like, oh, you can't go in front of me. Like, ah. I remember my dad saying, like, when he had a Corvette a while back, and he would have, like, these, like, older women in, like, a minivan that would, like, try and speed up and cut him off. Like, he wouldn't be going fast. He'd just be driving the speed limit, and they would, like, look over at him with an angry face and, like, speed up and try and, like, cut in front of him, like, because he had a fast car, and, like, they're like, I can go in front of you. And, like, he said it was so weird. It happened, like, multiple times. And he said this one time this lady just kept, like, he would, like, switch lanes or whatever, and he would go up, and they're on, like, a normal street, not, like, on the freeway or anything, and she would, like, be, like, speeding through traffic and, like, and then, like, cut him off, and he's like, what is this lady doing? And so he said finally he just moved over and just dropped all 500 horsepower on her ass and fucking blew her away, and he said she was just like, what the fuck was that? You know? It's like, bitch, like, I'm just driving in traffic. I'm letting you go around me just because you have, like, your minivan and you think, like, you're so special. Like, just relax. It's not like a freaking competition. I'm just trying to drive home right now.
So it's an interesting thing. You can do anything you can to try to be a good person, but you can't control other people. They're going to do whatever, and then it's not necessarily going to be reasonable.
Yeah.
They react. That actually makes me think of something. I was scrolling through, I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram, it doesn't really matter, but I just saw somebody bitching to somebody else about how he opened the door for somebody, this lady, and she walked through, smiled at him, and said, thank you, sir. And he said, you're welcome, ma'am. And she stopped. And she's like, I know you probably didn't mean it, but that's really offensive. And he was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
And so then they started a little conversation talking about that. And I actually looked it up. And ma'am now, for some reason, it is offensive now. And it's really fascinating. It's like, it's usually with the younger crowd. They don't want to be called ma'am because it makes them feel old. And so I get way more angry than I should, because then I started researching. I was like, the history of ma'am, the meaning of the word ma'am, and the only thing I could find that it was ever even slightly derogatory is like when, like some lady was like, hey, push in your chair, and you're like, oh, yes, ma'am, and that's like the only time it's derogatory, like,
yeah.
You know what I'm
like
saying?
Just using it in a shitty way.
But other than that,
Sure thing, lady.
You look up the original definition. One, it's short for madame, which was always, it's a term of endearment, basically, of respect.
Yeah.
It is quite literally the opposite of sir.
Yeah.
And so it's driving me nuts that people are actually getting offended nowadays. And I saw this article about how it's best just to not use qualifiers when you talk to people.
Well, that's just the world that we live in now. It's just,
I know, but isn't that ridiculous?
I
mean, I get it.
Everybody just is, like, offended by everything, so.
There's a lot of words that they could either be taken as positively or negatively. That makes sense. Maybe don't use those. There's some words that are very negative and have only been negative. Don't use those. I get that. But, I mean, if people are going to get offended about a word that has no derogatory implications at all, we shouldn't use them.
Well, that's like people say that you shouldn't, like, gender specify people. You shouldn't say he did this or he did that. You're only supposed to say they or them. It's like, get the fuck out of here with your fake ass rules. Like, the only reason that this shit is working in some places is because there's fucking spineless people that just allow shit to happen. People want to, like, take control of stuff, and people are opportunists, and when they see that they can do something and it starts a little ruckus and people start going and listening to them, they'll just keep pushing it. It's like, let's fucking chill the fuck out, all right? Like, if you want to do whatever you want to do with your body, that's fine. If you feel like you were born into the wrong body, like, that's fine. But you cannot fucking take away that there are genders. Like, you can't take away all genders. You can't say that there is no he or there is no she just because you feel like there are more now. And, you know, if that's how you feel about it, then okay. But you can't take away the two original genders.
Right. I don't really know where to go with that because I'm very close to that whole scene, and it's definitely very frustrating. But the only thing I can say is for all the people that get offended by stuff, and pretty much what you said, that people want to control stuff.
Yeah.
And that you can't control other people.
Yeah.
And I see people get mad about certain things. Like, let's see how delicately I can put it in my own family, that as far as like the gender neutral thing and all that, and all the sexualities and stuff like that, and whatever it is, we get yelled at often for not knowing something.
Yeah.
It's like, do you realize that I'm almost 40 years old? This is what I learned, you know, the whole male-female thing. You can't just be mad at me now that, you know, there's all this other stuff. I respect other people's, you know, opinions and emotions and stuff like that. But for you to just get mad at me because I don't understand this stuff yet, I think that's when it's going too far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everybody's got rights to that, and
just because you have feelings about something and you fucking wave your finger in the air about it, it doesn't mean that I fucking agree with you or that I'm ever going to agree with you.
I don't even know if it's about agreement or anything like that. It's just that, I don't know.
Well,
it's kind of like the whole ma'am thing.
Them.
This lady got mad because somebody said, you know, ma'am. And it's like, are you serious? This wasn't an issue a couple of years ago. So, I mean, even everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I feel like everybody's entitled to, you know, display their emotions as well. But it's like that could have been different, as in like, I don't know how to make that different, honestly. I was thinking, you know, there's a nicer way of delivering it, like, you know what, ma'am makes me feel older or something like that. I guess that's pretty much what she did. She said, you know, you probably don't know, but that's very offensive, and I guess you can't really say it any nicer than that, but I don't know where I'm going with that.
Yeah. The problem is that it inches its way in slowly. So that guy says, if she says, look, you know, that's really offensive now, and that guy is like, oh, like, I don't want to be offensive to anybody, so he goes, I'm sorry, like, I won't say that again. And then he goes on about his life, and now he's afraid to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those people that find everything like that offensive are winning, because now he's afraid to speak his mind on it, because he didn't share that opinion, but he's just afraid to, like, get in trouble. That's the problem now, is that everybody's afraid to, like, get in trouble, and so they don't share, like, what they really feel about stuff.
Uh-huh.
And it happens slowly. They kind of guilt you into it, and then before you know it, you got 72 genders, and people are saying that they're wolfkin and that they feel like being a wolf today. It's like, all right, here's the number one thing. The fucking world is way too safe. The world is way too safe, and it's way too fucking easy. Because if you got people that have the time of day to say that they're a wolf today and then they're a fucking grasshopper tomorrow, like, we don't have real problems. This is like some first world shit. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
This is some crazy shit that we made up because we don't have a complicated enough life, and like, we don't have to worry about survival, obviously, at all, because this guy's running around with a fucking dog collar on, and then the next day he's got like some fairy wings and he's saying he's a butterfly, and it's like, you don't have to face real problems if that's what you're spending your time doing.
Kind of an interesting point.
You know what I mean? Like, if there was a fucking saber-toothed tiger ready to eat you, like, you're not running around saying that you're a butterfly. Like, you're fucking finding food and staying warm and eating and making sure you don't get eaten and keeping it low-key, you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. Like, we've just made life so easy that we have all of these silly problems because, like, I feel like our base instincts and everything haven't changed. And so we have this, we can handle such a level of stress and such high levels of, like, hardship and death and like war. Like our species, if you look back through the history of mankind from forever ago, like life's always been hard, and there's always been death and things eating us and trying to kill us, and we're killing each other. And then now it's like, oh, well, welcome to America. You don't really have to work too hard. You can get some help from the government if you need it, and you can just hang out and play video games all day. And which, I'm not saying video games are bad, or I don't like the way of life right now, but I'm just saying it's just so easy that we still have this need for like fighting and hardship, that we go all these like goofy routes.
That's fascinating.
Like we just make problems because we don't have any that are real. So we just like make them up.
And it's like in our being to need the problems or something.
Yeah, it's like I've heard people explain it like there's like some scientists that do like studies on like how like the base human, our base instincts, what we've evolved from and stuff like that. And they say that like if you notice, anytime there is like a major tragedy, there's a big shooting, or there's like a terrorist attack, or there's war, it brings everybody together.
Right.
Everybody's so nice.
Vegas strong.
It scrubs off. Yeah, it scrubs off all the bullshit, all the fucking he, she, they, them, fucking whatever you believe in, Trump and Hillary and all this bullshit. It scrubs all that off, and it brings us back to base humans that need each other for community.
Right.
And we're all better people. And it's fucked up because it's like nobody wants that. Nobody wants people to die and giant tragedy. But it's like we are at our best as a community when we are under high amounts of stress.
Yeah.
And when we're not, we like do all this other silly shit to like argue, like politics. Like if you think about our base human needs and our connections, like what the fuck is politics? Politics is so fucking high up in the air. But if you go to any household, family gathering, meeting of minds, anytime you're in a group with a large amount of people current day, fucking politics comes up, and then people are at each other's throats and they're talking all this shit back and forth. And it's like, this is just fucking whipped cream. This is bullshit. Like, none of this shit matters. Like, just human needs and connection is all that like really matters. And we're just lucky. I think that we all just need to take a break and just look in and admit how fucking lucky we are and grateful for life being so goddamn easy that we are allowed to bitch about all of this silly shit and not let it get so fucking carried away. Like, we get so wild with it.
It's rough though. It's like kids nowadays, they haven't experienced anything else though. So it's like it's the norm, and so
yeah.
How do you?
Yeah, you take kids
you
take kids in the fucking Great Depression, and they're, they've seen some shit, and they have character, and they understand what hardship and what life is, and they have gratitude. And then you take like modern day child, not saying that every child is bad now, but you just take modern day child.
No,
it's not really their fault.
Majority
They just
raised
don't.
different.
They just don't understand like what hardship is. It's just interesting life, and it's it just makes me wonder like where we go from here. Like, what's the next step? Like, does it just keep getting easier, and we just keep on saying silly shit, or like, is there like a bubble that's about to burst, and fucking global warming gonna take over, and
global
like
warming,
reset?
or that one just gonna be so many internal wars like in our own country, just because
a giant reset?
Everybody's so at each other's throats and nobody's on the same page. It makes me laugh too, because I like how some movies like Back to the Future predicted a lot of stuff, and I look at WALL-E. Have you seen WALL-E? Mm-hmm. With WALL-E, the Eva, and the robots and stuff like that. And they're on this ship, and all these people have been on this spaceship for, I don't remember how long, hundreds of years or something like that. And everybody's on like this little hovering like cart, basically, with like a recliner, and they got their snacks and their drinks, and they got this screen in front of them. Yeah. And there's a scene, I think, where they're like talking to each other on the screen, and then they like roll up next to each other, and they're like rolling down the same hallway for a minute, talking to each other on the screen. So it's like they didn't even notice each other was there, and then they just keep going about their business, and everything happens on that screen, and everybody's fat.
Everybody's just,
Because
like,
nobody's
around.
exercising, and
Everybody's
it's
just
like,
around with a soda, just sucking on their soda.
and I feel like this is, it still feels kind of new, but I think this is getting to be more of an older movie. Yet it kind of freaks me out and makes me laugh at the same time. It's like, that is where we're going.
Yeah, just
Everybody's
virtual
getting
reality.
fat, and yeah, nobody's gonna. Oh man, have you seen Ready Player One?
No,
Here we go,
I
talking
want
about
to.
movies again.
I
That one's a
haven't
good
seen
one
it.
too. You haven't seen it, so I won't destroy anything. But that's another very similar thing where everybody's life is happening online,
Yeah.
and in the very, small amounts of time they show, what life actually looks like. But the rest of it is all
Yeah.
basically in a game sort of thing. And that's crazy. That
What was that one?
that may be very real as well.
What was that one Bruce Willis one where he was the cop and the whole world was like virtual reality?
Oh, really old?
It's pretty old, yeah. And like
I know what you're talking
he had to
about.
like tap him, and then he ended up having to like go out and fight crime like in his real body, and he's like older. Because like in the like virtual reality world, he's like, like a 30-year-old like fit cop, and then like in the real world he's like 50 and he's like gray and stuff, and he has to like go out and actually like fight with his like actual body, and they're like
Yeah.
telling like, why would you do that? Like, you can actually die, like,
Uh-huh.
and it was like such like a foreign thought, like, oh my gosh, like you're gonna die, and like, but everybody was like connected in, and they were like doing all this. Everybody was in crazy fucking outfits and shit in the virtual world, and like, it was just like insanity. Everybody's like screwing everybody, and I don't remember what that movie was called.
Fifth
though.
Element?
No, that one was really old. No, I don't think that one was virtual reality. It was just like a weird world.
Was it still Bruce Willis though? Is that the movie
Yeah.
that I'm thinking of?
Yeah. And Mila Jovovich.
Yes.
Yeah, not
Different
that
movie?
one. Yeah, not that one. It's much newer than that, but it's still probably 10 or 15 years old.
Let's check it
I'll
out.
have to check that out, yeah. But anywho, yeah, it's just those virtual reality movies are crazy because it's like I understand it. It's like I believe that this could totally happen, and it's like we're going there.
It
now.
almost seems like it already is. I mean, as it is, even without the virtual reality element, it's very much there. It's like I'm watching kids. I saw it the other day. Oh my god, man, it's freaking me out, the whole phone thing. I think it's probably clear for the people that have been listening long enough that I am borderline anti-phone. It's like I see the purpose in the world, but it seems like it's taking over too much. And I was waiting at a light at Boulder Highway, and I see this lady walking across the street with a wagon, and I was like, oh, there's a little like baby's head sticking up out of the wagon. She's toting this baby around in the wagon, and once they got right in front of me, I could see this kid. I swear to God, a toddler. Like, I would not be surprised if this kid couldn't walk. Looked that small, phone in his face, in the wagon getting pulled. I was like, oh my God, man, this is crazy. Because I remember when we got our daughter a phone, and I still thought that it was kind of still too early for her to have a phone. And she was like, let's say 9, maybe 10. I was like, she's going to school, by herself. So we kind of were like, yeah, she should have a way, that she can get in touch with people. 'Cause she knows how to use the phone. And the phone is, the phone is now. The phone is the future. It's like, so her not being able to get a hold of us would be silly nowadays.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I'm like, it didn't have to be a smartphone. I feel like we failed as parents by getting her
Starting
a
her
phone
off with that, yeah.
that early, because it's kind of how I see that kid that I saw that was in this wagon.
Like, fuck, it's
It's
too
like-
late now.
I've already done that. I already fucked up once, and now I see somebody else. They put a phone in front of their kid at like frickin' 2.5,
Yeah.
3. It's like, that's insane. So that kid, I mean, that generation right there is what we're talking about right now. That they're going to be 400 pounds and their entire life is on the phone. They don't.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are marketing stuff, like actual commercials about marketing how you don't have to talk to people. Like different services, banking and stuff like that, where they straight up on the commercial say, you never have to talk to a human being. It's like, wait, what? Wasn't... I could swear I remember commercials back, when I was younger, talking about how you're tired of talking to a recording on the phone, that you actually want to talk to a person. And now they're going the other way around.
Yeah, I saw this post somebody made. I can't remember specifically what it was, but it was something where they were like playing a game, and it was like truth or dare or something, and the dare was for the next like 12 hours, you're not allowed to text anybody. You have to call everybody that you want to talk to.
That's cool.
And it was a screenshot from this girl's mom who had texted her back, and she said, "Why the fuck did you just try and call me? I'm in the middle of church. Why didn't you text me, you fat bitch?" Oh god. And it's like that truly is like how you like sometimes you get a call from somebody, you're like, why is this person calling me? Like, I'll just text them back in a minute. I feel like you do that to me. But yeah, it is strange. It just slowly, that's what I mean. It's just like a wave that just slowly pulls you. You don't really notice it at first. And then all of a sudden you're looking around and you're like, fuck, we all have phones and we don't talk to each other anymore.
Have you seen that meme? The one that makes me freaking shake my head and laugh and feel disgusted at the same time is they'll show a picture of like a cabin in the woods or something like that. And they say, could you stay here for a year without any phone, computer, or are you kidding me? Yes, please.
And usually it's like,
could you get $1 million?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, could you stay here for a year?
It's like, dude, I would do that for just enough money to survive.
Yeah.
Why is that even something that somebody would feel compelled to make?
It would be a super uncomfortable first like week or two though. Just because like
would it though?
Yes, because we're so connected that to just rip yourself out of it, you wouldn't know it. You would think like, oh no, like it's fine, like I don't want to look at anything anyways. But then it would be like you'd be like doing stuff, and then it'd be the one time that you would sit down on the bed or on the couch or something, and like there's no TV, and you'd go like this, touch your pocket. Yeah, you touch your pocket, and like, oh fuck, like what do I do now that you would just have to rewire the way that you think, because
all the firewood's chopped, everything's clean, and you run out of stuff to do.
You go to sit down on the toilet, and then you're like, oh fuck, I should have grabbed a magazine. I don't have my phone. Like you remember when you read magazines on the toilet?
Yeah.
Fucking throwback.
Admittedly, that's one of my issues now. There's times where the bosses are going to hear this. I go into the bathroom, I pull down my pants, and I start doing my business, and I have to stop in the middle of it. And I try to pull everything back inside so that I can pull my pants up and go get my phone, because there's no way I'm just going to sit there for 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, that's my only time to actually be on the phone. So I'm kind of... I'm going to make myself sound holier than thou by, I only use my phone on the toilet, but I can't do without my phone.
Yeah, so all of that stuff would take some getting used to, but I mean it would be super cleansing. I feel like you would go back to drawing on a blank piece of paper or something. You know what I mean? It's crazy how much other creative things that you do when you don't have a phone or and for other stuff too that isn't just useless stuff. You'd go to figure something out and you're like, oh, I'll Google. Oh shit, I can't Google it. I don't have Google. All of the things that come with it would be take a while to get that out of your system. But
that's one of the things I hear a lot about is you got your universal intelligence, which is, kind of more of a woo thing. I mean, it may exist, but people are talking about how the world could potentially change in the future where everybody's minds are linked. So very similar to the internet and Google, where,
all the information shared.
I hate, the phone and all that, but I love the time when we're in, because I have a craving for learning.
Yeah.
And so to have the ability nowadays to be like, what's a kumquat? I don't know what a kumquat is. And you just pull out your phone and you look it up and you can see pictures and you can see all this stuff or whatever. And like words, I'm really big with words and English now, which is funny because I hated that stuff in school.
Yeah.
But
Same.
like I was trying to post a quote from your marathon thing. And I had to edit it because there's only so much screen room to put a quote on there. And so I pull out Google and I'm like looking, how do you properly edit a quote, so you're not changing the words and you're not changing the stuff, and then putting the proper punctuation in there so that you can see that it was edited, that it's not the original quote. It was just fascinating. I had no idea how to do that, but within 5 minutes I knew exactly how to edit a quote for publication kind of stuff. And it's really fascinating having like infinite knowledge just available at any
track down
moment.
A fucking English teacher or something.
Wait till you get home so you can like look through the encyclopedia or something.
Yeah, and fucking good luck with that.
How do we get from quality of a person to that?
The typical Dream Crushers rant. But I think we talked about some cool stuff.
I agree. I want people to be better people, though.
Yeah, be a good person.
Even acceptable people. I think that's perfectly fine. An acceptable person's actions have zero external effects.
Yeah.
Meaning nothing happens. Them being there, it's kind of depressing if you think about it. I want to make some kind of positive difference in my life.
Yeah.
But
I feel like it's almost like one of those things where like there is no middle ground. Like if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards kind of thing, If you're not
Really?
If you're not there, if you're not being a productive member of society, then you're kind of being an unproductive member of society, because if you're not bringing anything to the table but you're there, you're probably consuming something or taking something from it. So
but then that's kind of a negative external effect then.
That's what I'm saying. So they're not
So
really
therefore,
neutral.
by definition, they're not neutral.
But you said they were.
No, they're not. They have zero external effects. Period. Like no, not positive or negative.
Yeah, but I'm saying that it is negative if it's not positive.
I understand that in like a tribe or something like that. You got 10 people in a tribe or something like that, and then you got all these people that are going out and hunting and bringing in food, and then you got this one person that's not doing anything. They're not pulling their own weight, whatever. They're just eating into the supply, quite literally. I see how that's negative, but that's exactly what I mean. Is it's zero external effects. So, not realistic, but they don't eat. They're just there. They're not.
Yeah, but
They're not affecting anything at all.
Yeah, but that's almost never the case, right?
Well, absolutely, but that's kind of my point. That's
So
when you have to start thinking about stuff like that. It's like, hey, I'm here, even if it's a much smaller tribe, a family of 3. It's like, wow, you know what? I'm not really doing anything. I live here. I eat. I don't do chores. I don't do anything. It's like, it's time to step up my game a little bit so I can be at least an acceptable person.
But what would that mean?
Something.
But
I think it's up for debate.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
But
If you're eating food, maybe you go out and get a job.
It's hardly ever that you... But that wouldn't be an acceptable person. That would become a good person.
No, because you're...
If you go and get a job and then you're contributing. Like you're kind of... being the acceptable person, you're kind of in limbo. And you can't really be there. You can kind of pass through.
It's really deep.
Kind of, but it's just like, I'm just kind of saying like that person like doesn't exist. Like I see like what you mean by it, but like it's not really a realistic thing, because if somebody is there, they are consuming something. Like nobody's there and just isn't consuming or bringing anything.
Right.
So that's not a real person.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I understand like the concept of it.
Well, I think it also goes without saying too that any one action isn't going to make you, in that moment, you are doing something that a good person, bad person,
Yeah, we
whatever
all have-
person is doing, but it's your main principles in life.
Like the
If
average
you
of
can,
all.
every action that you ever take, you have this theory in mind, then that's what actually makes you a good person. Because I mean, if you go out and you feed the homeless every night, and then you come home and you beat your own children, sorry man, that doesn't exactly make you a good person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's got to be.
You're just a weird, shitty person.
That, and I think that's where heroes come from. The last one was somebody's actions have potentially negative effects on themselves in order to create positive actions on, externally. It's like a hero.
Selflessness.
Yeah. Old lady walking across the street and a bus is coming and you push them out of the way and get smacked. It's like that's where heroes come from. No consideration of, their own safety or themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I think about that too with like money. Like I give people money, like homeless people money occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stop and think about it, it's like that's a good person, but it's certainly not a great person, because I wouldn't be giving them money if it was money that I needed.
Yeah.
That's where a great person comes in. It's like, wow, you know what? I got to pay bills. I'm about to get evicted, but I'm still going to give this homeless person $100.
Is that a great person though? Or is it a dumb person?
I don't know. I think selfless is a great person. If you're worried about yourself too much, then...
Too much, but like base needs.
Wouldn't that be too much if you're about to get evicted, then... And you give money away, regardless?
I don't know if that's worrying about yourself too much.
No, I don't know. I don't think so at all. I'm just saying... You added another definition in there.
But,
A dumb person.
Well, I just mean, I don't really mean it like that, but I don't know, I don't know. It's like, what is the limit, what is the return on investment type thing, not saying that everything you do should have positive effect on you, but is it a negative thing to be completely self-deprecating like that? Give away everything, you literally just give away everything because you're a good person, and there's 5 homeless people outside your house, so you're you know what, you just take my house, and I'm gonna live on the street now. Is that a great person?
I think so. I think that's where you go from a good person, great person, to a saint.
Yeah, I don't know. I struggle with that one. I don't know if it's just because I feel like I could never do that.
That's probably the main thing. It's hard to wrap your head around it.
I'm holding on to my own ego, but I don't know. I feel like there's a point of diminishing returns, not to say for yourself, but in general, where you go from being a really good person to just letting people walk all over you.
Well,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
there's that too.
Where's the border there? If somebody's comes off the street and they're a criminal and they're hey man, you got a nice car, can I have that? And you're yes,
Yeah, I picture a dude
you can have it. Is that a great person that just gives
hippie.
a fucking...
See, I don't know.
I don't think it is. I think that
But are they a bad person, or...
I think
for doing that?
I think they're a dumb person for doing that. I think that there is a point where you have to have some form of structure. You have to have some you have to have a spine still. You can't just be this fucking jellyfish whatever you
So
need.
the way I'm taking that, and it makes a lot of sense, is if you have a homeless person standing outside your house and they're hey, I want to live there, I don't have a home, and you hand them the keys to your house and whatever. I mean, that's it. I think it could definitely be more beneficial. what am I trying to say? You can give too much at some point, and then you can't help anybody else. It would probably make more sense to, have some kind of footing, not give everything away to somebody else so that you can help more people.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have, I don't know, you're willing to give $1 million to somebody, you hand it to one person versus, helping several
100 people or something.
I see that, but I think the whole focusing on yourself thing is a little too far. I'm not that person. I'm not that person, but I still think the definition still stands. That even if you're spineless and you allow people to walk on you, it's dumb, but I still think it's a good selfless person.
Yeah, I'd say that I disagree. I'm not sure why yet. Like I don't know.
I don't know if this is another example or not, but there's this homeless lady, back to the giving homeless people money. She walked up to my window, and she said, "Hey, I'm trying to catch a bus. Do you have any spare change?" And I didn't have any. And I looked in my wallet. All I had was a 10. It's like, "Here, I'll give you a 10. She was super grateful for the $10 bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, cool. I felt good about myself, whatever, and went about my business. And then, 3 days later, same intersection, this lady came up. She's like, "Hey, I'm trying to catch a bus." And at that time, she's a very distinct-looking lady.
Mm-hmm.
She's there all the time. And it's like, it's not really my place to judge, but I'm like, you're not trying to catch a bus. So that time I opened up my wallet and I had $1. I was like, "Here you go." And it's like now, whenever I see her, I roll up my window. It's like, you're not trying to catch a bus. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I want to be a good person, but I guess it's not really my place to judge, what the...
Yeah. Homeless people is a tough one. In the house that I lived at before, it was in a much more rundown area, and literally every day, anytime I stopped at a store or a gas station around that area, I was approached by multiple people every time I went somewhere. So, go to the gas station, at least 2 people would walk up, ask me for money with a story or just ask for money straight up, either way. And so I was in that constantly, and I was and I have compassion for people, and I try to put myself in their shoes, and I try to understand it. But I was also if I gave everybody money, I would be fucking poor. I would be fucking homeless. There's so many that come up to me constantly, nonstop, and all of them have a good story, and it's I feel for them. But also, I've heard stories of friends of mine having conversations with homeless people that they would see all the time. They would come into their place of work or whatever, and they'd be cool with them, let them use it, and they would strike up conversation with them. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I make usually around $150 a day." They fucking panhandle a shitload of money sometimes. And there's some of them that I've seen that are I've seen some buy our work that I've seen every day on the same part of the street for the last 8 years. And I'm I know, I've seen people, I've watched people give them money constantly. So I know they make a shitload of money. I'm there's a possibility that some of these people make more money than I make in a day.
That's crossed my mind.
So I'm
if you think about it, an hour is a long time when you're at an intersection or something like that.
And
it would not be crazy to get $20 an hour.
Yeah.
That's not absurd if you think about it. With people, just most people, I would say that the vast majority of people are just going to, roll up their window and pretend they're doing something in their passenger seat or something like that and don't look at them. But there are other people, they're going to give them a few cents here, $1 here. Some of them are more generous. The first time I gave that lady $10.
Yeah.
It's it's not that far-fetched that they may be making $20, $30 an hour.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So it's difficult because I know that. So it's hard for me to buy into any fucking stories that I hear.
Have you ever seen one get into a car? I've seen them. It's almost like they clock out and they walk to the parking lot nearby and they get in a car.
No.
I'm not kidding.
But I've known people that weren't homeless. They were just kind of vagabond people that traveled, and they would just panhandle across the United States, go back to fucking the Midwest, wherever they were going.
It'd be kind of interesting though, wouldn't it? kind of
Yeah,
what we were
it would
talking
be
about
a-
earlier
it
with the
would
whole
be an
computer
adventure.
thing. It's
Be
something
quite
that
the
people
adventure.
nowadays probably would not do, but that would just be fascinating to just try to make your way, leave with nothing, maybe a few changes of clothes, and just try to make it to New York.
Yeah, in summertime. Not right now. Polar vortex. Freeze to death. But yeah, that's a strange thing. Like, it's hard to be compassionate when you know all of the sides of things, how things could be, you know. And it's easy to get into that, like, oh, I gotta look out for myself first, you know.
Mm-hmm. I think ultimately it's not our place to judge.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, do what you gotta do. I won't judge you, you won't judge me. Just do whatever. But again, coming back to, like, just giving everything away, you know. What about, you know, everything that you love? What if a guy just walked in and he was like, hey, man, I think your wife's hot. I think I'd like for her to be my wife now. You're like, all right, man, you know, I just want you to be happy. Is that a great person?
That's different because now you're affecting somebody else.
But what if
your
they
wife
were, what
who
if they
does
were,
not belong to you.
Yeah, but what if they were, like, okay with it? What if you're like, you know, honey, if that's what you want to do, like,
If somehow
I'm
you
okay
could
with
tell
it.
that they actually wanted to and they were actually in for it, then it was like, yeah, it's kind of like, once again, she does not belong to you. And you got to let your own, you know, your own attachment to possessions, if you want to call her that at that moment, you gotta let it go. I agree with you. It's not smart, and to be a functioning person in society, no, ideally that's a terrible way to go about it. But it's simply letting go of everything that you feel that you need,
Yeah,
and for the sake of another person.
that's interesting.
That is exactly how you get walked on, how you get mistreated, how you get whatever, is being spineless and stuff like that. But I don't think that makes you
Yeah,
less of a person.
I just feel
yes,
like-
it's not smart, but
I just feel like there is a balance. I think, like, the best.
there's absolutely a balance.
I think the best thing is a balance, though. Like, you could be a great person, but still fucking kick some ass and, like, not be spineless all the time, you know?
Again, like we were
Goes
talking
in
about
waves
before,
or something, you know?
a lot of the books that I read are, you know, how to become a millionaire kind of thing, just to summarize that as quickly as possible. But a lot of these people are talking about they became wealthy in their minds solely so that they could help other people, you know, and then they start, you know, funds and stuff for these people. And I still think that, you know, they're borderline great people, but I think they still fall in the realm of good people because they're doing, you know, this thing for other people, but it's not really hurting them. We're gonna have to wrap this up here real quick, but
Yeah.
it's like these people that have, you know, a huge amount of money and they're raking in money. They're giving away millions and millions and millions, but it's not actually affecting their own lifestyle, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
The actions that they're taking are definitely, you know, positive results. But, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not affecting them negatively
Yeah.
so much. I think
Yeah,
that
it's
alone
not
makes them
It's
just
not like
good people.
You make
These are
30,000 a
good
year and you
people.
give away half of your money. You know, that would
Right.
affect you a lot more than if you made $7 billion and you gave away $1 billion.
Most of these people still have mansions and nice ass cars and stuff like that.
It's funny, real quick before we wrap this up, on a lighter note, we were talking about Jeff Bezos and how he's, like, getting his divorce and he's got to give away, you know, fucking, I don't remember the number. It was like he's got to give away 15 billion or 70 billion or whatever. He's giving away half of his money to his wife in the divorce. But, and, like, everybody's like, oh, that's so like fucked up, like, that's so crazy, like, poor guy. I'm like,
Poor
dude,
guy.
I'm like, that's not the same thing as a guy who makes $60,000 a year giving
Yeah.
away half his money. Like, it's not the same thing. Like, he will forever be okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna be fine. Like,
Even
it's
with
just
half of what he
it's
has.
just a fucking ego hit. It's not,
Yeah.
like, with that amount of money, like, he's not gonna fucking miss a thing. He'll never fucking skip a beat. Like what the fuck is he gonna miss?
Right.
You know? It's like I don't really feel bad about that. Like
No.
everybody's
There's
like,
a certain
"Oh,
point where
poor
you,
him." It's like, no,
even if
really.
you bought a Ferrari every day, you could still never spend it in our average lifespan.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, you'd have to buy like hundreds of casinos and shit. Or whatever.
Well,
All
that's
right.
good.
Well, hope you guys can sort through the weeds of that one.
Yeah, just try to be a good person. Apparently, according to Kyle, my definitions were hours and hours of just wasted time.
It's true. See you guys.
Bye.
Like, subscribe. Love you.